Hello, welcome to this fourth chapter. Here we're gonna be talking about prophylaxis. Prophylaxis is basically the skill that allows you to win any position, I would say. Okay, that's a bit of a scam, but the point is, prophylaxis is relying on the move of your opponent instead of relying on what you can do in a position. This is a very important concept because most of other sports, I'd say like football, tennis, like all relies on what you do and then how your opponent reacts to that. Yeah, but in chess, your opponent needs to move, and this sometimes makes it so our opponent doesn't have a useful move. This is a great example, for instance, that it's white to play, and here we would be checking like first. Okay, there are no checks. Yeah, but we have a threat. Maybe the threat works, but after the threat, black moves the rook. And and that's it. And then black might exchange, and if you already know your endgames, this is a draw endgame. So, so here what can we do? We can move the knight away, but then the king moves. Yeah. But here a very fun part and a thing that I try to also give to my students and try to get them is that the next level of checks, captures, and threats is what's your opponent's next move. This basically allows you to see the chess in a different way, because once you start, you keep doing puzzles, and everything is telling you that everything relies on you. Like you do check, then a capture, then a threat. You do this, and you win. You will do this. You never rely really on your opponent needing to move. Yeah. So in this case, there are 8 winning moves here. One is king a2, one is king b2, one is king c2. Okay, you get the idea. Any king move wins. Why? Why is that? Because white doesn't really have a threat, but the point is that black cannot really move. The king doesn't have any square to move, as the knight and the pawn covers everything, and black is forced to move the rook. So basically we move, let's say, a2 to add more insult to injury. And now black needs to move the rook. So basically, we are just taking the rook, and now we are winning this endgame. Yeah, this is not a draw. Sometimes with knight and pawn can be a draw. Be careful there. just a heads up. So this is the key component of prophylaxis. Yeah, many positions you would win not because of your threats, not because of your checks, but because of your opponent needs to move and needs to create some kind of problem to themselves. In this sense, the word usually is also Zuzwang. You will know about it, the German word. Yeah? So we'll see now in the next example that I want to talk about is you would be like, what is this, Alvar? What is this mess of opposition? Doesn't make any sense. Why is knight here? Why is white? White has so much more material. What's the point of this position? This is a composition. This composition is actually from 1875, from the Illustrated London News, yeah, for Joseph William Abbott. And the point is that white needs to mate in 2 moves, yeah. And why do I bring this kind of puzzle to here? Because this kind of puzzles you only can solve it if you take into account your opponent's moves. You can never calculate any move here. Like every mate in 2 is impossible to calculate. Like that's usually the point of these puzzles. Like let's say we do a check, right? Okay, the king moves. Where is the mate in 1? Any check from the diagonal can be taken by the bishop. This is definitely not mate. We can take. This is definitely not mate. We can cover. Knight b8 we can take, and we can take. Yeah. So, for instance, if the point here is that any move, any direct move, it happens the same thing with knight d3, like the king moves away, and then, okay, I'm taking the king at least, there is no mate in 1, yeah? So, to achieve checkmate here, if you start doing these kind of puzzles, you would realize, let's say, you get an intuition of where are you going, yeah? Because it's very difficult to see all the mates and all the different themes. It's impossible to solve this puzzle without prophylaxis. It's impossible. If you try to solve this puzzle like with, okay, I want to try this move because I want to try this idea, with this approach, It's completely impossible. That's why I was making the difference before in the chapter prior to this one, that there is like calculating of the things you see, your patterns you see, the patterns you identify, and calculating with the positions that, with the mindset of, okay, I'm gonna do every check, every capture, every threat, and I will find something else. So here the prophylaxis is the same thing. Yeah, it's the next level thing, that all of this prior explained to that, thrown to the garbage. This position is impossible to solve if we don't take into account our opponent's moves. Yeah? As a way to start, I'd recommend to at least know or expect a move for your opponent after every move you make. That would be great. And recently I've been learning and being very enthusiastic about table tennis. And I was really surprised that at some point we did the lesson that the coach told us, okay, you need to serve, but you need to think, why do you serve this? And what's your opponent's next move? I was like, what? I never thought of that. And I do this consistently in chess. I'm pretty sure you can do this approach in any sport. Yeah, I'm just a patzer at table tennis for now. So here, how to win this position. Okay, I'm gonna tell you a solution, but it would not mean much to you. But here is more like a trial and error. Yeah, but the move is Queen F1. Yeah. The point is, okay, that black needs to move. Like, we are actually not threatening. Well, we are threatening maybe one mate in one. Yeah. Sometimes the puzzles, it's even more absurd. Like, you are not even threatening mate in one. So, so here, if we are taking the bishop. Yeah. If black moves the knight, let's say. Yeah. And same thing with king c6, and with in case of king e4, what happens here? Where is the mate in one? Where is the mate in one? Ah, yeah, mate in one. Yeah, sometimes they are hard to make. So these kind of puzzles, I really love them because you would realize so many patterns of mates. Some of them are super strange. Yeah, so you will get used to this one. I highly recommend. And for me, they are a lot of fun. At least this mating too. I'm pretty sure you've been to Twitter and you see that everyone is posting them. I'm included there. So it's a very fun way to explore new mating ideas, and also to think with prophylaxis. To basically here, your only mindset is checking your opponent's moves one by one. I have mate. No. So it's a very good habit. And here, black can move the bishop, but if the bishop is moved in any of these three squares, you will take with the queen, and basically it's a mate. And same thing happens if you take the queen. This is a mate. And finally, black has bishop e4, but now bishop e4 happens to be covering the last square of the bishop. And also we have these bishop moves, but I feel they are also as irrelevant as this one. Yeah, doesn't matter where you move this bishop, that this is mate. Then you have more elaborated mates. I like, not mates, like these kind of compositions that, depending on your opponent's moves, you have a different mate, which are amazing, and also allows you to learn a lot of patterns in a very short period of time. And I don't know, I always try to look for my students what can be the fun for them. So I give them many options. Of course, as much as you keep learning patterns and you keep being disciplined about how you calculate, yeah, the checks, captures, threads, and this kind of stuff, you will improve for sure. But the more or less diligent you are, it will determine your ceiling. Yeah. So let's go to the next one. Now more some human position. This was playing against Andreikin, yeah, in a blitz like title Tuesday, and I had this strange position. And here we are balancing material, but this bishop is just pointing to the air, and this king is a bit more, has more safety. And in general, I would say that there is a rule of thumb that when the pawn is not on f2, this king is always much weaker. So if the pawn were on f2, it would be some kind of equal, but now it's much worse for black, sorry. So black played queen f6, and here, yeah, this pawn is in the air, and here in 1 second, I saw an idea. And the idea was that immediately when I play, I realize what's my opponent's move. It's instinctive at this point. Yeah, I don't consider any move without. I never play a move without considering my opponent's move. It doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah, and basically here I saw rook e5 immediately, and I saw that knight d3 was a threat. Yeah, like there are no captures. Yeah, we are defending the knight and we are defending the pawn. Yeah, like we have both. But here I thought that, whoa, knight d3, that's a great threat for black. Yeah, it takes the pawn, destabilizes the rook. What is the rook going to do on b5? Yeah, I don't know. And then after you take, you realize there are even more threats. It's just a pain. Yeah, but here I saw that definitely, and also I saw that checks, captures, and threats. Right. So here we have it. I just take it. And now black realizes the mistake, because after taking, boom, there is this check and you have a new mate, a new pattern. Yeah. So basically, this would have been possible to find in a game. Yes, of course, in a classical game. Yeah, I have plenty more time. For instance, if you are starting now in chess, you will find this easy. Well, to see it in 2 seconds, not really. And the point of blitz is that you need to see it quickly. So the final goal is that you see things faster and consistently. And then in classical, it doesn't matter that much as you have more time, but yeah, you generally require some degree of speed, I would say. So this was a funny anecdote, I would say, but I use this example a lot as it showcases how you should be thinking, and especially it's very rewarding in blitz, because blitz players try to make you threats to traps. And if you see them ahead, you have so much information. You're basically winning. I remember telling one friend that we were playing some blitz games. I was much stronger than him. He was like 2200 FIDE. Yeah. And I told him, dude, I will win you always, and you can choose the move I will play, even like the first 2-3 moves. Why was that? Because he would not think ahead of one move. Never, ever. So basically, I just needed to be careful of the immediate threats he was trying to do. He would do it consistently. He would never play around my moves. So it was very easy for me to just get in their head and just be one move ahead. I didn't need to do anything else. So yeah, this is a good example. And if you don't know, Andrei King is what? I don't know if he picked 2750 or something like that. And he was... I think he won a World Cup once, or was second. Yeah, he's a very strong player. So go for the final game, and this is also a game of mine, but this is a classical game, and this is this is a bit of a brutal example, I'd say it's my best example where we will be combining all the things that we've learned so far, and bear with me, it will be very, very long. Yeah, but it will be worth it, I feel. So here we are, move 17, I think. Yeah, and here I thought for 20 minutes, and I played king h2. Now it's move 18. Yeah, and the point is like, okay, why, Alvar, are you thinking for so long? So here I have two choices. This pawn is under attack. We can consider the captures here, but don't matter that much. In this point, like, I don't want to give up my dark squared bishop if I have all my pawns in the light squares. Like, it would not be very productive. So defending the pawn is a must. And here I have two options: just push it, and then I also cover this. But the problem with pushing it is that eventually I want to push this pawn, like later on, just rearrange my pieces and get space. But after doing this, I would never really threaten anything, because black would always have a very safe spot on g4, and this pawn structure is much weaker, has less flexibility. Yeah. Instead, if I keep the pawn here, then I would be able to play f4, then kick this, and then this bishop is also struggling because all my pawns are on light squares. Yeah. So I thought, okay, I want to play king h2. Let's see if I can. And here there is a very forcing sequence of threats, captures, threats, and checks, captures, threats, and prophylaxis. So king h2, basically here I calculated until move 30, and you would be like, what? What it is to calculate here? Yeah, so this is a Grandmaster game. We were both like 2550, 2560 in the Bundesliga, and what I saw is that black has this immediate threat, which is g5. Yeah. And then here, black has only a capture. Black has no threats. f5 is just a move. There is no specific threat, but has a capture. That is like, what? What do you mean? I capture back a friend and the queen. What are you doing? But now has a check. I need to go here. Yeah? And now has another check. I need to take. And now has another threat. Yeah? Feel free to pause wherever you feel. It will be very intense. And the point is, like, suddenly I need to give up my bishop, and suddenly, wait, I'm exchange down. What happened? Yeah, but I did not stop here. Yeah, I said, okay, let's keep going, calculating prior to that. Yeah, I'd say, let's go here, knight d5. Yeah, and the idea is that basically I'm friending here, and also a very abstract point, but is that white is also having a small strategical advantage because the rooks are not into play, so the king is very weak, and white can afford to actually pressure it. That's more of a strategical component. Yeah. So what I thought here is that, okay, black would likely defend it. Usually start with reasonable moves. That would be also an advice, but reasonable is like, okay, not everything is checks, captures, and threats. When you don't have one, it's like, okay, I defend the threat. Let's see what happens, you know. And here I can take on h6. Suddenly, after a threat, I have a capture because the bishop cannot be taken after knight f6. Yeah. So here black is like, okay, let's keep doing a threat now. Yeah. And here, if I were to take the bishop, black takes, and the thing is, it looks tricky for black if I move the bishop away, as suddenly the king is very exposed, but also the rooks enter into action, and black can get away with the king. Yeah, black is more or less fine. Yeah. So here I calculate another threat. Yeah. And here, if black takes, I will take, and if black takes, I have this check. I will take, I have take, and if black takes, I win the endgame because I'm getting an extra pawn. Yeah. But here black can take here first, and now the position changes. And basically, I evaluated that this should be more or less equal, because even if I get a pawn here, this endgame is draw. So basically, black has to exchange 3 pawns for their 4. So it's not just it's not an Herculean task that cannot be achieved, I would say. So what's the point of all this nonsense I'm telling you? The point is that prophylaxis can get so deep, and prophylaxis can be like, okay, I see the threat of my opponent, actually let's play around it. Let's play around the ambition of my opponent. This is the most brutal example I have from it, because when you allow the prophylaxis and then you allow the capture threats, you can see so much deeper. Like most of the lines we saw, like after here is like, okay, bishop b3, no, not forced, but natural. But here is like forced. This is the first move you need to consider. Yeah. Forced. This is forced, but basically 93 is also forced. The capture with check. The capture is like, it's the first move you need to think. So it's not difficult to find it. Like I reach here very quickly, but then I need to fill the holes, yeah, to check all the lines, the other options. What if my opponent waits here? What if my opponent doesn't? Actually, in fact, the game followed. My opponent played c6, which was kind of bizarre. And after knight here, I think my opponent played h4. Played some waiting move. And here I won. Okay, it's not the topic of the chapter, but the point is, this position is maybe better, yeah, and end up winning in a very funny and direct fashion. But yeah, the main goal is that, okay, this is not your usual game, but you can go so much deeper. Once you establish the first 3, checks, captures, threats, you go for prophylaxis, and prophylaxis can get you anywhere. Any move can be interesting. Why? Because your opponent needs to make a move. So any move is interesting. Yeah? At least always force yourself to never end in saying, okay, I do this and I win material. Period. No. I win this, I win material, and my opponent doesn't have a move that threatens me. I would actually prefer that, and my opponent has this, but doesn't threaten anything. This, you just put a name to the move. Yeah, that's also a great advice. Don't be lazy. It takes you like 5-6 seconds more, but in the long run, it's the most important thing, because people are so used to saying, okay, that's it. Yeah, I'm material up. Yeah, but suddenly, yeah, the prophylaxis, the thinking of what's your opponent's next move, is a key component of chess. Yeah. So reviewing the chapter, I would recommend checking some puzzles about prophylaxis. Every game you should consider your opponent's next move. Every game, even blitz games, force yourself, especially in classical. And classical is a must, but in blitz, that's where you will shine. I mean, with this advice, if you do it consistently, man, I'm sure you will improve. I will give you back the money if you don't. Nah, come on. But the point is that prophylaxis is just a key aspect, and the earlier you get it, you feel it, you consider positions like, okay, any move can be interesting because my opponent makes the move. See you in the next chapter.